So my job is to do my job and not give you what you want exclusively. Once in a while, I will give you what you want. And what you want is a reset of Ritt. I can tell by all your reaction. So I'm going to jump that right up now to hour number 1. Incredibly enough, I will do that right now. So if you missed yesterday's show, then you missed one of the more memorable moments of the entire year. If you missed yesterday's show, you've got something in common with Alvin Delloro, my longtime, extremely trusted, ultra-talented engineer. Understand this about Alvin. Anybody can board op, but nobody can do it like Alvin. He knows this. This is why he has jammed me hard and started staying at home on Thursdays. And he's doing it for the same reason that anybody does anything. Because he can. Because he's got leverage. Because he knows that we know that 4 days of him is better than no days of him. In other words, little man has the big hammer, and he's not afraid to swing it. Just kidding, brah. I know that's not what this is, and that you've actually got some homeschooling that you have to do every single Thursday. All good, weird year, weird circumstances. We have to do what we have to do. I understand. The problem is, what we have to do and what we have is Ritt. Gerrit freaking Ritt. Old man content in the back row. The unicorn of all unicorns. A paunchy, bald old man who looks 10 years younger, or who is 10 years younger than me, but looks 20 years older. Yet when he looks in the mirror, he sees Brad Pitt staring right back at him. That guy. So, when Alvin needed to start taking Thursdays off to be a professor at home, we needed somebody to run the board. Obviously, filling in for Alvin is no small task. In fact, it's impossible. Essentially, you're coming into the game for the Michael Jordan of engineers. It takes a certain level of confidence and courage, if not downright false bravado, to even try it, much less execute it. So, who do you think had their hand way above their bald head when I went around the room looking for that Thursday fill-in? Right. Obviously, the same guy who called Paul Pierce fat. The same guy who killed Tom Hanks on the radio. That same guy was beyond eager to get his paws on any part of the on-air product that he could. And he moved right on in. And if you've listened to the show on Thursdays for the past 4 months, here is some of what you've heard. Missed drops. Delayed drops, wrong drops, and a whole hell of a lot of Gerrit Ritt drops. My man loves him some him. Now, I always like and respect guys who like being them. In fact, I get a kick out of that crap. I really do. But no one likes and respects and loves being them more than this dude. You know how I always say, one of my favorite lines was from a guy who played golf with a guy that I know, and he said, quote, "I have never seen a guy that ugly with that much confidence." Like, it makes me laugh every time I think of that line. Such a great line. Except that's Ritt times infinity. The guy can't find Carl Lewis or Mike Gundy on the sound panel to save his life, but he's got zero issue finding anything and everything that has his own voice in it.
Finally.
It's like self-gloss times infinity. I'm shocked that this guy doesn't walk in on Thursdays and tell me, "Yo, boss, engineering's whack. It's boring. I'm not some GD button pusher. I mastered that in the first 10 seconds I sat down. Take the rest of the day off. I'm going to give the clones what they really want now. Me. I'll both engineer and host this bitch at the same time. Take the day off, Rome. Bring it." So as you might imagine, knowing the guy, this guy has incredible delusion. Ritt has done more and more shows in Alvin's chair, as he has, he's gotten more and more comfortable and more delusional. For example, yesterday, he played the boing drop every single time I mentioned that my podcast guest next week once shot stem cells into his junk as part of an erectile dysfunction treatment article for Men's Health magazine. Yet there's Ritt, just having a field day. Boing, boing, boing. I mean, I didn't tell Ritt to bring the conversation down to a second grade level. He just decided to do it on his own over and over and over and over and over again. But since board hopping is an invisible job to the listener, anybody tuning in yesterday could have thought that that was me hammering that idiotic sounder. So now you know exactly what I'm dealing with, right? Actually, you don't. You never could know exactly what I'm dealing with, but you have an idea. A guy who has a fraction of the ability and intelligence to back up his unworldly confidence and swagger, and who's got way too much sound and freedom and autonomy at his disposal on Thursdays. You see, that's the rub. That's the kicker. A really good board operator knows when to play something and when to lay out, because timing and reading the room are paramount. So I know I've set this up in a big way, but it now brings me to what happened yesterday. Now you have the background you need. It brings me to a phone call from Diane in Niagara Falls. Diane calls in yesterday because yesterday was the 5th anniversary of the passing of our beloved thoroughbred, Shared Belief. She wanted to mention it. She wanted to pay tribute. I appreciated it very much. Obviously, the subject matter is very serious, and it's sensitive, and it's sad, and it demands a certain level of gravity and respect. And listen, for the record, not only will I not apologize for it, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to scream it from the rooftops. I love that animal so bleeping much. More than virtually any human being that I have ever met that I'm not related to. Remember I told that story to my then 10-year-old son, Logan, that when I heard that Shared Belief died, I got the news here at work during a show, that during the commercial break, I went into my office and I got dusty for a few minutes. Like I literally did the one thing that I demanded that you cannot do. I cried at work. Logan says, "Dad, I've never seen you cry." I said, "Son, I don't think that I have cried in the 10 years that you've been on this planet, but that's how much I love the big horse," right? So anyway, Diane calls in to acknowledge the 5th year passing of Shared Belief. Hawk puts the call up on a shared Google Doc. We all have it in front of us. We all decide together, we're going to take this phone call at the end of the segment so we can do the less serious stuff before it. It's called producing. Hell, it's actually producing 101. You learn it the very first day of producer school. We're all on the same page. We have our fun with a couple of callers before Diane, then we go to her. Apparently, Ritt was not done having fun. Apparently, Ritt's idea of fun is different than the rest of our ideas of fun. Ritt thought that playing a drop that had no business being played was a good idea, and that would be fun. And not just a good idea, but that he would step all over Diane and literally disrupt her very first words of her very serious phone call. In case you missed it, here's how this sounded. Listen for Ritt's horrible timing, his absolute tone deafness, and my utter disdain for what he just did. Niagara Falls, Diane. It's good to have you, Diane. How are you?
War Lady Clones.
Damn,
How
Ritt.
are you? Not going to take too much to elevate these calls, but anyway.
The drop that he played is the classic War Lady Clones
War Lady
drop.
Clones.
We generally play it after an email or a tweet or a phone call from a lady clone, not before. And sure as hell not stepping all over whatever the lady clone content is, especially this content. A very nice woman paying tribute to my deceased horse that I love more than anything besides my family. Can I hear that one more time? Niagara Falls, Diane. It's good to have you, Diane. How are you?
War Lady Clones.
Damn,
How
Ritt.
are you? Not going to take too much to elevate these calls, but anyway.
What, Ritt? You couldn't find the giddy up horse face?
Giddy up, horse face.
Drop? Alvin hid the Sarah Jessica Park sounds from you?
It doesn't make any sense. It's happening, you guys. It's happening.
Parker. I mean, Ritt, are you kidding? The only thing more egregious than Ritt stepping all over Diane, talking about my dead, beloved racehorse, is that Ritt saw absolutely no problem with it. In fact, he actually was kind of offended that we all had a problem with it. We were wrong. He was right. When Hawk cussed him out for it, Ritt responded, and I bleeping quote, "Lady clone caller, lady clone button."
Lady clone caller, lady clone button.
This is exactly what he said, word for word.
Lady
Again.
clone caller, lady clone button.
Word for word. Again, we all were wrong and he was right. Freaking Ritt, man. You could not write this character in a million years if you tried. And responses poured in, ranging from Ritt is the type of guy who asks a woman her weight and overguesses her age, to Ritt shows up to funerals and shouts, "Game on!"
Game on.
Ritt shows up to funerals and shouts, "Finally!"
Finally.
So it's not just that Hawk and I, found the entire thing completely devoid of any kind of sensitivity. Guy's totally out of touch, total inability to read a room or a situation, but most of you did as well. And a number of you asked the most important question of the day. Exactly how did Alvin Delloro react hearing that at home? He heard it all right. He heard it. And he gave us his reaction privately off air, but I want to get him on air to get his thoughts, and we will do that when we come back. Man, Ritt, not only did you jump the day, but you jumped an entire segment after I did a segment on you. There's more. I want to get Alvin's reaction, and I want to get your reaction. As always, the biggest topic on the show is the show itself. That's my XR4 Ti. If you're going to ask me where I find these guys, I don't even know at this point. Ritt, incredible. A day later, it sounds even worse. When we come back, Alvin's reaction to old man Ritt. He was sitting in Alvin's chair when it happened. Chris, no longer in St. Pete, tweets, "The Jets better keep Gase because failing at your job is not a reason to get fired." Signed, Ritt's soundboard career. Wells in the 360, "A reset? Why? I didn't do anything wrong." Signed, Ritt. At Squirrel 2. "Sorry to hear about the passing of Cody the Ragdoll Cat, but War Lady Clones." Yours, Ritt. Jamie in Green Bay. "Alvin had to walk in today looking for a raise after Ritt's job on the board yesterday." And Carl in Prescott tweets, "Since I stepped all over the shared belief remembrance yesterday, can I host a show when you're in the basement?" Signed, Ritt, Niagara Falls. Diane. It's good to have you, Diane. How are you?
War Lady Clones.
Damn,
How are
Ritt.
you? Not going to take too much to elevate these calls, but anyway.
Just so Ritt-like, man. Just stepped all over her in an inappropriate manner at the worst time possible. One more for you, Romy. "I caught the end of yesterday's show. Even I think that Gerrit Ritt dude is tone deaf as hell. Regards, that Michael Bay COVID-19 movie." Ashley in Nebraska.
War Lady Clones.
All right, so I am curious. What does Alvin Delloro make of this whole thing? Because while I'm not going to blame Alvin for it, I think that I can legitimately say if Alvin didn't take off every Thursday, Ritt would have never gotten anywhere near his chair. And by the way, since Alvin and I are going to have a quick Q&A right now, Ritt is back in Alvin's chair. Ritt, don't you push a single button. Why are you even there, dude? It's like the plane is up in the air. It's on autopilot. There's nothing for you to do, Ritt. Get your ass back to the back row. Why are you sitting there? I just destroyed you, Ritt, for 20 minutes on national radio, and you move right back to the same chair. The ball's on you, old man. This guy's incredible. Alvin.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, hey, Alvin. I don't even know where to start. Like, for instance, what was your first reaction? Because I know you were at home listening live. What was your first reaction to hearing Ritt step all over Diane with a War Lady clone drop while paying tribute to my deceased and beloved racehorse, Shared Belief?
I was mortified. It was, thanks.
Hold on. Ritt, I'm not even kidding when I say this, dude. Don't push another button, Ritt. It's like, I know you think it's funny, old man. How funny will it be when I fire your ass before the segment's even over? Ritt, push the hell away from that desk. Alvin.
Hey, Jim.
Ritt, I'm not kidding. Alvin, your reaction.
Yeah, you know that pit in your, you feel that feeling you have in your stomach that you're going to throw up. And I was there. I remember that day vividly when you found out Shared Belief passed. And yeah, I mean, you already admitted it. Yeah, you cried. It was very weird. I usually, when I leave, I just kind of go. That day, I remember going to your office and just asking, hey, man, are you all right? Like, this is, and you said you were fine. And so that was that feeling. And then it was that feeling that, you know, when you like let an F-bomb off in the air and then you're worried like, oh my gosh, that went out in national radio. Any second now I'm going to get a call from Craig Hitchen telling me either I'm fired or something's going to happen. Yeah, it was, I'm starting to get it back. Listening to it again, when you said, damn it, the funniest thing about that, usually when I screw up, and it happens, you would say that on talkback, but the fact that you did it on air was incredible. I felt like I was in the studio there and I was getting shivers. I was like, oh gosh. Like I was already thinking, is this too long?
Well, yeah, about 5 minutes ago it was too long. No, hey, listen. Okay, no, it's not too long. It's not too long. A couple of thoughts, and let me react to it. I don't want to make it sound like when you make a funny point and a great point when you say, you might say that, but generally it's on talkback. I don't really do that very often, to be fair, because you guys are really good at your job. I mean, yes, I have, but I don't want to make it sound like I browbeat you guys, quote, on talkback. But you're right. If I do that, I'm not going to do it on air. But it was so egregious what he did that it just came out. The other thing about me crying at work, yes, the one point, I didn't come running out of my office, hey, everybody, Shared Belief is dead. What I did was I got the bad news and I went and I had 5 minutes in my office during the long break to compose myself. But yeah, you're right. It was a really difficult day, but not to Ritt. Now, here's my question for you, Alvin. How much responsibility do you personally take in what happened? After all, I know this is a weird time, but had you been here, that never happens. Yes. All right? We're doing live radio. That means you got to be sharp all the time and ready for whatever is coming. But you weren't here, and that's what happened. How much responsibility are you willing to assume in this?
100%. That here's the thing. Like, you talk about it. You give your employees real estate. It's up to you what you do with it. I've taken mine. I've tried to make the best out of it. I've kind of, frankly, revolutionized it.
Well, you have.
Yeah. So,
okay, Alvin Ritt. No, go ahead.
So
you have.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
So this has kind of been in the back of my mind. Like Gerrit, I'll say this about Gerrit. I've had a number of backups. And usually what happens when I take time off, those people who back up, great guys, when I try to go back to them again, all I get is, hell no. I don't want to deal with that stress. I don't want to do that anymore. No. With Gerrit, it's a totally different thing. Like, he's all about it. I caught him the other day. You mind if I talk about this?
Just do it, dude.
Yeah,
believe me, he doesn't care about anything.
Like, hey, man,
he's made that pretty clear. Ritt doesn't give a damn about anybody or anything but himself.
So I asked him, like, hey, man, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm looking for ties.
Hold on. Did you just ask him permission to talk about something? Number one, dude, you've been here 20 years longer than him. Number two, he doesn't ask permission for anything. So talk about whatever the hell you want.
He was web browsing. He was looking for ties. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Because, he does that tie thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so he bought like 1,000 ties. I'm not kidding. He bought them in bulk. They were like $5 per tie. That I mean, that's the total opposite of other people have had to back me up.
No,
so
no,
I
no,
love
no,
him
no,
for
no, no.
that.
Can I ask you something? No, I'm not going to say, can I ask him? Can I tell you something? I've told this guy repeatedly on and off the air to stop wearing ties to work, and you just told me he bought 1,000 more in bulk.
1,000 ties. Like, I guess
After I said stop doing it.
he's ready. Like, if I were, knock on wood, if I were to get into a car accident, I mean, he's ready. He's going to be in here, tie for every single day. Kind of like Antoine Walker had a suit for every game. He has a tie for every day. I give him credit, man.
What?
No, my point is it's a hard job, and I can kind of see where the stress comes from because you always have to keep ahead of you.
Dude, he's not stressed. This is different than what you're talking about. Everybody else that came back to you and said, oh, hell no, I'm not going back in there. What he's saying is, hey, Alvin, why don't you take 2 days off a week? I got this, and I got 1,000 new ties. It's not stress that led him to do what he did.
The one thing I will say is a couple of times I've kind of told him, like, hey,
I always
man,
do this, dude. You'll never take a run at anybody for anything.
well, okay. The number one thing advice I've tried to give him is keep it simple. Like,
Stupid.
keep it, yes. And just land the plane, dude. You're not the superstar here. Just land the
Oh, no,
plane.
dude's
Let
out
Jim
there
do
like
his
the
thing.
air show doing these aerial 360s. And, oh, no, dude thinks he's a Blue Angel pilot.
So-
What do you mean land the plane, man? He thinks he's Mav up there.
Because the one drop that you think is hilarious will just kill the whole show.
Like yesterday?
Kill your vibe, kill your flow. Like, my thing is always...
Dude, he killed Tom Hanks. He tried to kill
He
Shared
did do
Belief
that.
again. I mean, dude, You go ahead.
No, my whole thing is, and I'll end it off here because I think I've been talking way too long. Time and place for everything. When you play a drop, you don't just play it just because you hear it. You have to be very selective, like the tone of the show. Like, I know we entertain and I know we do like a lot of fun stuff, but it can kind of, go on its head and, we'll talk about serious things. Like yesterday when you were talking about Irvine, like being on fire and everything. If I was here, I wouldn't play the burning drop. That's just common sense. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah, great analogy, but Ritt would have.
Burning.
That, like he
Fair.
just did. When I said yesterday, Irvine, Orange County is on fire, and we have a problem here, Alvin. The town is burning down, and we have a pandemic, so we're being told to stay home, but at the same time, thousands of people are being told to evacuate their home. Stay home. Do not leave the home unless your home is on fire, and then we'll discuss what to do. That's not the time to play the burning drop.
Right. And when we had Errol Spence Jr. on, when he was talking about that car crash he got into,
Right.
I'm not going to do the car crash sound effect and hit time to die. That's just something you learn not to do.
Well said, Alvin. All right, I'd walk off on that.
Thank
well
you very
said.
much.
Thank you. All right, so
Or
Alvin
Lady Clones.
shared his thoughts. See what I mean about Ritt? Ritt, for some reason, Ritt just intuitively and instinctively moved back into Alvin's chair when Alvin left it when there was no need to do so and nobody told him to. Ritt, the segment was fine. There was no drop that needed to be played there. There was no execution of anything. And Ritt wasn't in that chair 30 seconds before he started banging on buttons again.
Burning.
This guy. All right, so what's
it
your
on.
reaction? I got to be honest. I know I have a job to do. I'm not sure if the suits or the programmers appreciate me talking for an hour, well, a half hour, about Ritt and the show. But you know what? My name's still on the marquee, so I'm just going to do it. What's your reaction to it? Finish off the hour. 1-800-636-8686. Or if you'd rather participate via social, hit me up at Jim Rome. Dear Alvin, now that I'm becoming more proficient on the soundboard, I want to give you some advice. If any lady clone calls in with a heavy topic, drop a, "Come on, Rachel, shave your back,"
Come on, Rachel, shave your back.
in the middle of their call. The boss will love it. Regards, don't care it, Ritt. Geoff. War Ritt laughing maniacally when he steals a handicapped parking spot from an elderly driver. Dear Rome from home, I believe Ritt's actions yesterday were deeply insensitive and tone deaf. Regards, T.O.'s agent.
Pharaoh has 25 million reasons why he should be alive.
Signed, Drew in West L.A. Boss man, Diane went belly up. Regards, Ritt. And mailman Casey tweets, Rome, Alvin should set Ritt up with a board, much like a child's phone with only 4 buttons. Jared in Wisconsin tweets, Ike is the most versatile member behind the glass. Look at the dude yesterday, and you think he's a used car salesman with his Jerry Garcia tie. Today he decides to dress it up with the old, unemployed plumber look. Is there anything he can't do? At SoCal Jeff tweets, Alvin's reaction, 2 words, job security. Romy, Ritt probably chuckles during those Sarah McLachlan animal cruelty commercials. Denny in the 402. I'm always shocked that when I roll in here, that Ritt's not parked in my spot. Honestly. I'm always shocked that when I roll in here, that Ritt's not at my desk in my office. After parking in my spot. Drinking out of my mug. Let's go to Eric in Orlando quickly. Eric, what's going on?
Robbie, how you doing, buddy?
Good, dude. You?
I'm doing great. Talking tuna, I got a quick recipe for you, man. You get a tuna steak, half a cup of Ken's Italian dressing, put it in a freezer bag, let it sit overnight, and then cook it in a fry pan, 3 minutes on each side. You'll love it.
Okay. I like that.
Now, for Ritt, how can he be so stuck on himself? He looks like a foreskin with ears.
That's not a good call. No. You don't like that call. I don't like that call. Not a very good call.
Now for Ritt. How can he be so stuck on himself? He looks like a foreskin with ears? Some of your best work, Eric, since you dropped the flight deck loss on James Kelly.